gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Sessions with Koren. We've covered so many powerful and relevant issues, and we are committed to continuing the conversations that matter most to you. Today, we're diving into a topic that hits close to home for far too many of us: toxic work environments. Whether it's passive-aggressive behavior on the job, constant micromanagement, or a burnout culture, the impacts can be deeply damaging. Today, we'll talk about how to spot the signs of a toxic workplace, how to cope effectively, and most importantly, how to know when it's time to walk away. Joining us shortly is our guest, human resource practitioner, project manager, and quality assurance professional, Calisha Spencer. She'll be sharing some powerful insights with us. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Sessions with Koren. Joining us in studio is Calisha Spencer, a human resource practitioner, project manager, vision board facilitator, and quality assurance professional with a passion for people development and emotionally intelligent workplaces. Calisha is known for championing sustainable HR practices that support both employee well-being and national development. Calisha, welcome to Sessions with Koren.
And thank you so much for having me.
It's always a pleasure talking with you. So the first question I have for you is, what are some of the most common signs that someone is working in a toxic environment, especially the signs that we often overlook or normalize?
Well, some of the signs, simply put, we have always been available. We think that we're going above and beyond because we're always available. We can be reached via mobile phones. We're checking our emails or WhatsApp chats every weekend. So making yourself too available and always being available is one of the signs. One of the signs as well is chronic gossiping. We don't pay attention to chronic gossiping in the workplace, and having too many deterrents and distractions in the workplace can continue to fester and then breeds a toxic environment. So those are two of the silent signs of chronic or toxic workplaces.
Yes.
In addition to that, one of our big ones is fear-based leadership. When we have fear-based leadership, I'm not comfortable going to my superior today. I'm not comfortable going to my leader because this person might be having a bad day, or that's how this person is. So I'm going to wait until next week. Or I have something that is pressing now and I want to speak about this person now, but I have to gauge what their mood and their body language is saying to me before I can approach them. That too is one of the silent signs of toxic work environments or toxic teams.
Wow, that's a lot. The first one is something else. When you're expected to be available all the time, and there's absolutely no work-life balance, gossiping can be terrible. Can you imagine the amount of information that is being passed around that is not necessarily even accurate? And the last one you mentioned, how can I have someone, a manager, a supervisor, I don't feel comfortable approaching at any time? Those are definitely signs, and I'm sure there's a lot more. What are some red flags, either for the HR department or management, to decide, we need to change this workplace culture? What are some red flags?
High absenteeism. Persons, you notice that one person is, we're entitled to 12 days per year, working year for sick days, sick leave, whether it be certified or uncertified. When you notice that the absenteeism for one person or the entire operation is very high, then we have to look into that. You look at your retention rate as well. What does the retention rates say to me. If my operation or my organization is a revolving door, it says that something is happening behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
So those are two as well. And also, one of the things that we don't pay too much attention to is the morale. One person might come into the organization on high energy. They're functioning 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, on a good trajectory. And then by year 4, you notice a dip. Or even in reverse, by their second year, even a couple months, you notice that after the 90 days, which is the probationary period, and then you notice that person still has that high energy, then there's a dip afterwards. So that too as well is a contributing factor.
So we need to pay attention to that. When we have these toxic workplaces, how does it affect the employee's mental and emotional health though? Because we have to think about how these things impact persons, right? We want our employees to be emotionally healthy, to be present. As you mentioned, we don't want a whole ton of sick days and people's productivity. How does it affect their emotional and mental health when they're in such a toxic culture?
The thing about it is mental health is one of the major keywords in our society today.
Yes.
And I think that it is taken for granted in some aspects.
Okay.
Majorly, you have persons who are functioning, who are high functioning performers, and they suffer with depression, they suffer with anxiety.
Yes.
And in addition to that, then you have chronic illnesses, you have your diabetes, you have your hypertension, etc. So looking at that, it affects toxic working environments, affects you not just mentally, but it affects your physical health as well. It even trickles into your relationships, because while your mental health is affected and your physical well-being is affected, then you go home to your children, you go home to your partner. That too starts to breeds or rears its ugly heads into the different areas or the different aspects of your life. So it affects you from a standpoint of, again, the health, physical health, the depression, the anxiety, and burnout as well, where you feel as if you have put in a long 8 hours here at work, but then when you get home, you can't function. You have no use to yourself or your families.
Okay, definitely. I had somebody who got a migraine every Monday morning. Every Monday morning when it's time to go into the job, a migraine came. And the mental and physical health cannot be separated. It cannot be separated. When somebody's stressed at work and their blood pressure goes up, they end up calling in sick. It becomes like a cycle. Let's talk a little bit about management. Are there certain patterns or red flags in management or leadership styles that tend to create or worsen a toxic work environment?
Absolutely. But I'll put myself in the hot seat.
Okay.
And I'll start by saying HR. If I could rename it, I would call it human relationships.
I love that.
As it relates, separate to human resources.
Yes.
That is my name for the term HR. So contributing factors from leaders who actually pour into or create toxic work environments. You have, again, the gossiping, handing down information to employees or certain employees that don't need that information. You have favoritism.
Yes.
I am going to treat Sally different to how I'm going to treat Koren. In addition to that, you have fear-based leadership, again, where I'm afraid to come to you about certain things. And then I do not know my people. If I can't function, if I don't know my people, I can't function. I have to be able to know my people so that I can function. So for me, I know Koren. I interact with Koren on a daily basis. How do I not know when something has changed with Koren?
Yes.
If I do know Koren, and we spend most of our wake time at work, 8 hours is a lot. It might sound like just 8 hours, but it is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of time. A lot of energy is exerted there.
Yes.
And you must know your people and create a culture where you know your people, because if you don't know your people, you're adding to that as well.
Yes.
Because there might be situations where, okay, I look at Koren and I know something is terribly wrong. There is a task that I need to hand down to her. Do we get to the task? Or do we say, hi, Koren, I notice you're a little bit down today. Is everything okay? Yes, we have business to continue, but I still need to see what headspace Koren is at, so that she's able to perform at her best, and I'm able to maximize on the productivity within the window that Koren is there, which is 8 hours.
That makes so much sense. The human relationships, because employees do not want to feel like robots. They don't want to feel as if it's just about getting the work done, no matter the cost. So with the system you described, if I have a relationship with my team members, I will know, okay, this one is struggling today. Let me put him or her in the back and have somebody else go to the front. Let me lessen the load. Let me work around the schedule. And that employee would feel so valued. That employee would definitely give his or her best.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than, if you don't know me, it's just business as usual. Just get the work done no matter what. So I love that. Human relationships. So we're renaming HR
to human.
That's a good thing. So from the employee's point of view, let's just say we have ladies and gentlemen listening to us who think, oh boy, everything she described in terms of communication style and favoritism and gossip is really affecting me at work. What would you say to those employees in terms of what can they do? What strategies can they employ to protect their own mental and emotional health while at work?
Whether we believe it or not, it's not just the work environment. The work environment and the culture is external, is everything outside.
Okay.
A tool that I have recommended, which has helped me as well, because yes, we all go through interactions, and we have all, trust me, 4 out of 5 persons have been a product of working in a toxic environment.
I believe that.
One of the things that you can do is you beautify your space once you have the autonomy to do so.
Yes.
Even if it's not an office space, but a cubicle, 1 quote a week, 1 quote a day, something that relates to you. A lot of persons go to church on a Sunday using faith. Okay, I'm going to step in, I'm going to pray, I'm going to ground myself.
Yes.
For those persons who are deeply faith-based individuals as well. You have other different things that you can do. I can exercise. I can do yoga, other different things. So those are some of the things that you can do. I would also recommend that journaling is a powerful tool. Journaling about your day, about your experiences, what happens. So it can also provide some clarity to you to keep yourself grounded while you're at work. And it could give you a little roadmap as to what next. So you can match your days across each other and say, I did this today and it worked.
It worked,
So I know when I'm feeling X,
try it again.
I'm going to try it again.
Absolutely. You build your own toolkit.
You build your own toolkit.
All right. So you want employees to take responsibility. Okay. So management has a role to play.
Yes.
Human resources / human relationships has a role to play. But employees must take some responsibility for their own mental health at work.
Absolutely.
That's very important. So we're not going to be passive victims.
No,
we're going to be empowered.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's say the employee is trying everything you talked about. However, this employee has a situation at work where they're being ruled by guilt. They're forced to overwork and there's guilt and fear. How can that employee set boundaries?
So first and foremost, you have to journal. Journaling your experiences could turn into documenting your experiences. Because documentation, you know how it is. If it ain't in black and white,
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Yes.
So even as little as communicating, you put something in writing. Not to say, oh my God, I'm gonna write everything under the sun, but little things like, I noticed that you gave me a task today. I'm unable to deliver this by 10 a.m. tomorrow. But if you would permit me an extra 2 hours so that I can complete X, Y, and Z, because that is where setting boundaries start. So making sure that you document your experiences and then communicate in writing and asking for the support or what you need in the workplace. Because again, we are responsible for experiences at work by extension. So that is one of the ways.
Documentation is really, really important because if you go after 6 months and said this has been happening and you have nothing to show for it, then you have no legs to stand on. You know, you need that evidence, right? At what point does an employee or a team member or even a team leader, because the toxic work environment can affect people at all levels, at what point does someone say enough is enough, I need to leave this environment, I've tried everything, but I need to leave? At what point would you advise someone to do that?
Where you feeling good, you feeling healthy, you being able to perform at your best self versus being in a toxic environment. Being in a toxic environment costs more. So what I normally recommend is, and what is most realistic, is to set an exit plan put an exit plan together. Because you can't just, you have your bills, you have obligations, you have children, you have school fee, you have car notes, you have mortgage, you have everything that you must attend to.
Okay.
And then we have persons in the household who are single parents. You put your exit plan in place, whether it be you say, okay, I am going to send out 2 applications a week. I am going to subscribe to jobs available in Antigua, let's just say, so that I'm able to keep my eyes and ears open. There are little networking events around the place that pop up ever so often, little mixers. There are also little communities, little groups that you can, by extension, in your free time, involve yourself and engage so that you're able to see what is available and what is out there. Some persons might say, getting another job is so hard. And I do understand that. But while getting a new job is so hard, there are other different things that you can do to create an exit plan. Because you might be an accountant today, and then you engage yourself in another community activity, and then you realize that public relations is something that you can do. So I'm going to try something.
Okay.
Right? Because some persons, they stay in a toxic environment 10, 15 years, 20 years.
That's a lot.
Because it's a safety net for them.
Yes.
So creating a strong exit plan and putting a strategy in place by taking those small little steps are some of the ways that you can start to ease yourself out of a toxic workplace and weighing the price of having peace versus having problems.
Okay then, I love that. I love that. So you want them to prepare, you want them to weigh the price, you want them to be proactive. You say, I got 3 P's out of that.
Oh yes.
I got 3 P's out of that. So when this person is deciding to leave now, what do they look for in a new role or a new company to ensure that they're not leaving from one toxic environment to another?
Pay attention to the interview. Your interview says a lot, and it sets the tone, how you are approached. You look at the little engagements. More times you're meeting with HR, or you're meeting with a manager, or you're meeting with an administrator who is able to pass you on to a consultant who may be conducting the interview. So pay attention. Pay attention to how it makes you feel, because I'm big on energy. When you step into an operation, just observing can tell you a lot that you need to know. Ask questions like, what is the organizational culture like? Do I call you by your first name? Are we Mr. or Mrs.? Are you Koren or you're Miss Koren? Those little things. And then one of the things that is very scary is, show me my work environment. Where am I going to sit?
Yes.
Do you have a staff canteen? I know we speak about remuneration. We speak about the bucks. How much sick days am I going to be? Well, sick days is 12 sick days, certified or uncertified, because that's the law. But how many vacation days am I entitled to? You ask, do you support hybrid, a hybrid working environment? I have young children. When you communicate, let's say, for instance, for me, I have a young son. I have a 1-year-old. Is this environment going to be able to give me at least 3 hours to go to my son's sports day and come back? Little things. So you start the negotiation. Yes, you want to land a job, but you start negotiating your benefits, because those are benefits, so work-life balance, when you get into an operation, and if that is received or according to how it is received, then you're able to make a determination as to, is this for me?
Yes, yes.
Make sure you get it in black and white too.
That's true. Oftentimes we want so badly to get the job that we don't stop to think about, is it beneficial for me? It can't just be the paycheck. There must be a level of flexibility, positive work culture, the communication, how they speak with you in the interview, the questions they ask. Calisha, our final question. As an HR professional yourself, how can you remain empathetic and fair when you're caught between company culture, the management who's paying you, but the employees who really need you to show them concern?
The two key things here is HR professionals must practice advocacy as well as integrity.
Okay.
That I word, integrity, I'm very big on. And the thing about it is there's a crossover between the two. And for me, while HR is a driving force for productivity and people management, as I say, the human relationships, I think once you do that, you stand on integrity, and also you practice emotional intelligence.
Yes.
You're able to mitigate any circumstance as it relates to a toxic workplace, because you're an HR professional, you're installing me or putting me there to essentially be responsible for this thing, this arm of the operation.
Yes.
And I have to be able to give you feedback as it relates to the staff, what is happening, the teams. And it's not just productivity, but it's the well-being of the staff.
Absolutely.
Because you want to make sure that your morale is at best. It reflects your vision and your mission for your company. And you want to also make sure that your well-being and your staff are well taken care of, and that you can maximize on productivity. So I do think emotional intelligence, advocacy, as well as practicing diplomacy are three of the key ways that HR professionals can assist to mitigate and manage toxic workplaces. In addition to that, I would love to say as well that while you are the person who manage all those relationships, you too as an HR professional need to have a buffer. Somebody or something that you can lean on in the operation, because HR too can experience burnout.
Well, that sounds like a
the whole nother topic,
for another time.
Yes.
Calisha, thank you so much for your invaluable insights. It has been a pleasure speaking with you. More on Sessions after the break. Toxic work environments can drain the life out of you. They can shake your confidence, rob you of joy, and make you question your worth. Here are 5 practical tips to help you cope with a toxic workplace while protecting your peace and your professionalism. Number 1, set boundaries and stick to them. Don't let a toxic culture blur the line between work and personal life. Politely decline after-hours requests when possible, and use your break time and avoid engaging in gossip or negativity. Number 2, document everything. Keep a log of incidents that feel inappropriate, abusive, or unethical. Include dates, names, times, and any other details. This helps if you need to report to HR or protect yourself later on. Number 3, don't take it personally. Toxic workplaces often make you question your worth. Remind yourself that the dysfunction says more about the environment than about you. Protect your self-esteem by separating your identity from the job. Number 4, find support inside or outside. Connect with a trusted colleague, mentor, or therapist to process what you're experiencing. Sometimes just knowing someone hears and validates you can be incredibly healing. And number 5, have an exit strategy. If things aren't improving, start exploring your options. Update your resume, build your network, and look for new opportunities. Leaving a toxic job isn't quitting, it's choosing peace and growth. Remember, you deserve to work in a place that respects your time, your talents, and your humanity. Welcome back to Sessions with Koren.